I'm co-presenting with Peter today. If you guys have any trouble hearing me, let me know in the text box. Otherwise, this is Peter and I. I'm the research associate here at Faculty Development. Peter's our online analytics coordinator, and we will be presenting on free software tools this afternoon. So just a quick thing before we get into the presentation itself. We've added these little badges to each tool that we'll be reviewing as sort of a quick reference. For those who are not familiar with the term, starting with the freemium badge, those who are not familiar with the term freemium generally means applications that are free to use, like entry level, and then you pay for premium options. Sometimes that's more storage, sometimes that's better service. The mobile app, self-explanatory that these softwares have a mobile application that are associated with them as well. The web-based badge is for software that has an online component where you're developing through a browser. Open source softwares are things that are open to the source code of the programs are open to the community so that anyone can go and modify and change. These are generally a lot of developers, a lot of developmental software, but especially in the last few years, a lot of open source software has been consumer grade. Open source software has been getting more robust. And then finally, the download badge is just anything that can be downloaded to your computer, Mac, or a PC. So the first piece of software we're going to review today is LibreOffice. LibreOffice is an alternative to the Microsoft Office suite. It is a very, the license that it's under is very, very permissive. And it has applications across operating systems, so on Windows, on Mac, Linux software. It's a very wide-reaching program. So Karen is expressing a little bit of disdain for LibreOffice. Yeah, there's when you're using LibreOffice, because it's using a different back end than Microsoft Office suite does. There are some formatting things that get lost in translation a lot of times. If you have students who use it, what I would recommend for them to do is to make sure that they're saving in the docx format, and then if anyone is using is aware of students who use LibreOffice. You can also save them in what's called ODF, it's Open Document Format. ODF I actually kind of prefer myself because it's readily accepted by many more applications than docx. And especially helpful to maintain that formatting across Office applications. More so than docx or the Microsoft document formats, but docx is kind of king. So, but know that LibreOffice can save in docx. LibreOffice has a mobile application that is associated with it that's for viewing only, and I believe that's for their Writer application, their Excel alternative, and their PowerPoint alternative. Again, this is open source and available for download on cross-platforms. So like I said, download across PC, Mac, Linux, Writer, Calc, Impress, and Draw. Writer being the Word alternative, Calc being the Excel alternative, Impress being the PowerPoint alternative, and Draw sort of just being a drafting application. Again, does the standard Office types, so it can save in docx, Excel, XS, and PPTX. While when we originally had this, this is students who prefer this, I would say at this point, because since NIU has a site license now for Microsoft Office for students and faculty, they can download Office 365 on up to 5 devices, Mac, PC. They don't have a Linux application for it. But Danny, so you have a question here. Oh yes, we'll send we can send these slides to you later on. But if you want to check out the applications before we'll send a follow up either end of today or sometime Monday. So if you want to check something out over the weekend, feel free to write it down. Karen, so yes, Office 365 is different. Office 365 is the Microsoft program. This is sort of their new licensing model that they're going to. You can check it out on o365.niu.edu. I'll type that in there for you. All right. Peter, go ahead and take this one.
Thanks, Cameron. Yeah, Google Drive. Okay. Who all has used Google Drive, Google products before? You may have heard Google Drive. You may have heard Google Docs. This is another Office suite plus file storage option that you may be interested in. You do get very, very simple applications. They would have some of the same formatting issues. They're kind of stripped down in comparison to the standard Microsoft Office suite. But they have a lot of good features that are particularly useful when you're collaborating with other people. You'll notice that this is a freemium product. Most of us generally use the free product, and that's perfectly fine. There are paid-for options, especially if you're trying to store a lot of files in Google's own cloud. You can pay for larger storage. One really nice thing about Google Drive and the Google Docs products are mobile applications, web applications. You can get access to all of the different docs from anywhere. Very handy. And anything you store in there, including the documents that you create within Google Drive, you can download for later use. Correct. Google offers up to 15 gigs of storage for free. That's very, very handy. This is one thing that makes Google Drive stand out. Yeah, good. Bonnie says, I have used Google Docs and primarily don't have problems with it. We found the same. It's been very reliable. It's one thing that we often recommend to people, again, especially if you're working on some kind of group or team project. All the files are hosted online, but you can get access to them from any of the apps that you have downloaded. It does require a Google account, but of course Google accounts are free. One kind of nice thing is that student accounts, as of a year or two ago, were converted to Google accounts under the hood. So automatically all student accounts have access to the Google products. Karen asks, what about privacy issues? That is a good question. I believe that the encryption standards, the storage standards, it is FERPA and HIPAA compliant. I don't think NIU would have adopted this if that were otherwise. Google Docs, Google Drive is a part of many institutions' infrastructure for students, and this is a common question everywhere. So if it hasn't been answered, I'd be really shocked. Google's very good about that in general. Of course, you are storing your stuff on Google servers, so if you don't happen to like Google, well, that might be one reason to go elsewhere. But it should be fine up for most standards. And as far as the Google Docs suite goes, there is a doc, presentation, spreadsheet, all these different kinds of apps for you. They do a reasonably good job of filling in for most Microsoft products. Insofar as formatting issues go, very often here at faculty development, we might start a document that a few of us are collaborating on within Google Drive. And then when it comes to final formatting, we'll then export it out as a Microsoft Office document and then do most of the heavy formatting there. That seems to be the best workflow we've found. But the real-time collaboration features are what makes this a killer app. It's been better than what we've been able to do with the Microsoft products real-time. We tested out some of the real-time stuff with the new Office suite. It just wasn't quite as reliable. For anyone who hasn't seen this before, you can start up a Google Doc, and I and Cameron can be working in there at the same time, seeing each other type within there. So I can take one part of the document, he can take another. I don't have to create part of it, save it down, email a file to him, and then he gets started with his portion. We can be working on everything together, which is really good to recommend for your students if you have any kind of group work and they're trying to set up a group time to work on these things together. So that's one of its really big uses, but it can be used for anything else, any kind of document that you want to be able to access from anywhere, from your phone, from your tablet. It's saved down, it's automatically and almost instantaneously available across all the different platforms. Karen says, I use a Google Doc for a shared to-do list between me and RAs or grad students. It works great. That is a very good use case, yes. I've had a couple of other professors, actually one I was working on my thesis with. For a while we started there. Ari asks, is this intuitive or do you recommend using a certain tutorial? I found this to be very intuitive because the interface is extremely simple. It's a lot simpler than even Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel or PowerPoint. There are fewer features, so you don't have all the options you would, of course, for everyone on campus. You also have the full Microsoft Office suite. So like I said, getting started there is a good idea. And then you can export it out to a Microsoft format and do the final pass across everything. And that is available at drive.google.com. You just type that in. You can get signed in if you already have an account, or you can create a new one. All right. Next is one of my favorite apps, Dropbox. This is effectively a lot like Google Drive's Drive portion. It doesn't have the Office suite. It just has the file storage. But I found that the ability to save down anything in a folder on my computer, on my tablet, on my phone, and be able to access everything everywhere is extremely handy. Ari asks, do we access this through the Google Drive icon? Cameron responds, yes. Yep. You'll notice when you sign into Google, there's a little apps icon that can give you access to all the different features across Google's different suite of products. Getting back to Dropbox here, it is a freemium app. I believe you get 2 GB of storage free, but you can pay something like $10 a month for a full terabyte of storage if you have a lot of stuff you want to save. This is actually something I pay for myself. I keep all of my photos, all of my files there, any stuff that I want to back up. It's very handy. There are apps for all platforms, Android devices, iPhone, iPad, you name it, there's an app for it. If you don't have a dedicated app, you can use it via any web-capable device though. So I can get access to it through a web browser, on my desktop, on my laptop. Pretty much anywhere the internet is, you can access Dropbox. It's really simple to install, and anything you put there you can download after you've put something there. So it's really quick access to all of your files. Like I said, it syncs everything across any and all devices you install Dropbox on or that can access Dropbox via the web. One of its really handy features is very simple sharing. If I want to share an individual file, I can just right-click on the options and tell it to generate a link that I can send to someone else. I can email them the link easily. I can even share whole folders. So this might be one thing that if you're working on a research paper or you're working on a project with a student, maybe you start a new folder in your Dropbox and then you share that with them. Very easy to set up. Transmission of files and files themselves in Dropbox Cloud are encrypted, so it's very secure. It's very easy to transfer files to mobile devices. This is one of my favorite use cases. I might create some kind of, maybe I just take a picture on my phone, and then I save that down to Dropbox, and I've got access to that on my desktop later on if I want to touch that up. I could begin creating a Word document or a PDF on my desktop. And then maybe I'm in a meeting and I want to pull that up later on a mobile device. I can do that. So it's very simple, very easy to use. A little bit of free storage, otherwise you can pay for more depending on your needs. Karen says, I found putting things there clunky and somewhat slow. That's too bad to hear. Most of the time it's been quick for me. It can take a little while depending on the file size or if I'm on slow Wi-Fi someday. Certainly if I'm at a coffee shop, certain things can be a little bit difficult to access every so often. But it has saved my bacon more than once. Oh, one thing I didn't add to this slide was I deleted almost my entire Dropbox about half a year ago, but on the web, it saves something like the 30 most recent versions of any file. So I was able to just restore all those files in one go, which really saved my day once. All right, moving on.
All right, so Evernote. Evernote is probably one of my favorite applications. It is a fairly robust note-taking application that I personally have about 1,800 notes in Evernote. I've had it. I've been using it for going on 4 years now, and I save everything in there from work-related notes and articles, etc., to class, to home life, to personal research projects that I have going on. It's a very useful application. Let's see, go to the next slide here. Another thing that's pretty nice about it too is that you can basically get all of Evernote as a free app. The freemium features offer you increased file upload storage and elimination of ads from the application itself. For me, the increased storage has been worth it. I think it's still about $45 a year to have the premium version of the application. It has applications for all the mobile devices, Mac, PC. It has a web-based interface, and all of these, all the notes are synced together. So if I take a snapshot on my phone and I save it as a note, that automatically syncs to a web server, and that is accessible to me through an online login or on my PC or on any other of my devices that I have Evernote installed on. You can create different stacks, folders for your notes. You can share notes with other individuals, other Evernote users. There are numerous plugins actually for Evernote too that make it very useful. One of my favorites is one called Clearly, that if I'm reading an article on a web page, I installed this plugin on my browser, and it will actually strip out all the advertisements, all the sidebars sort of things, and just give me the pure article with images that are embedded within that article, and then I can actually take a clip. I can clip that information into my Evernote without having to input any text myself, and then I can actually go back later and edit the text that's imported as well. So like I said, it syncs across devices, mobile and desktop, wherever it's installed. Evernote is always adding useful features, it seems. One of them that I don't use very often, but I have used before, is recording audio. Taking photographs is something I do quite often to as acting as like a scanning documents into Evernote, which another feature that Evernote has is it actually can read a lot of that text, especially if it's even if it's handwritten, if it's written clearly. But the text that when you use a search feature in Evernote, can actually look at those images and pull and sort of decipher what the words are, so it shows up in a search. Like I said, you can share notebooks or individual notes with other users. It's very useful for taking notes in classes or meetings and sharing those notes with others. it's the portability that the mobile feature adds makes this really a very powerful application, either for yourself or recommending it to students as a way to sort of get away from the constant Word document or written hand notes. It increases accessibility, and it's just a very useful app, and I can't sing enough praises for it.
All right, we touched on some basic office productivity software, but we wanted to also mention some multimedia applications. First one I wanted to talk about, one image editor, Photoshop Express. A lot of people are familiar with Photoshop, or at least have heard of it, but there is this mobile application that's available for you, so it's really easy to do anything really simple on the go. It is available on both Android and iOS devices. There is in fact a web component too, so again you can access this from any kind of device pretty much that has internet access. Really nice. It does simple photo editing. It gives you access to crop, exposure adjustments. There are red eye features. A lot of basic, simple kinds of things that you'd be able to do. You can rotate pictures, flip them. You can even add a few of the nice filters to it. It is a freemium app though. You can buy some extra filter packs if you're interested in that kind of thing. If you're familiar with Instagram, it's the same sort of, pay 99 cents for 5 more filters kind of thing. So it's nice, it's simple to use, it's available for a lot of different platforms out there. It's particularly useful for taking pictures and editing them on the go. So if you are doing some kind of scavenger hunt, or you've asked your students to do some kind of photo thing out in the wild, some kind of field trip, maybe you have them touch up some of the photos and submit them to you later on. So simple, free, easy to use. You can see it's available at Photoshop.com. It's one of the ones we recommend. We've used it here before because it's free, because it's simple, it's made by a reputable company, it's not going to crash, it's not filled with junky ads, that kind of stuff. Yes, Karen, you have a question? No? Okay.
Oops. I'm sorry. I forgot to turn my talk back on. Oh boy. So let me give my spiel to people now instead of myself. So Pixlr is another Photoshop alternative that we wanted to list. It's again a web-based application. What I like about it is that it actually gives 3 different ways to interface with the program. You can start a very basic where you're basically adding filters, doing minor editing, cropping, etc. Then there's an intermediate which has a few more robust features, getting into more filters, more image enhancement, contrast, sharpness, etc. And then basically kind of like the expert level editing, where you get most of the common tools that are used in Photoshop. Sorry, they're available through this web interface. So it has multiple points of entry for different types of users and skill levels. So here's sort of an image of the more advanced interface with it. It actually has a mobile application for Android that I use fairly regularly. The Android version is actually a stripped down version. You don't get the advanced features that you do with the web application. But it's nice because you can either upload an image through your browser, through your phone, or actually pull an image off the web through a URL and start editing. So again, the sophisticated photo editing that's comparable to Photoshop, a lot of the commonly used features, web application, you can actually create an account with them if you want to save a a collection of photos in the cloud. And again, the simple mobile apps for iOS and Android. And you can check this out at Pixlr.com.
One of the last options we wanted to mention for photo editing is a freemium app called VSCO-Cam. I know it stands for something, but I can never remember it. This one is very highly rated. It's a lot more advanced. It's a little less intuitive than some of the other ones, but it has been for years very highly rated. Usually the #1 or like the number 2 or 3 rated mobile app for photo editing from actual professionals out there. So it's something to look into if your work is heavily art-based, or if you really want to do a lot of extra fancy stuff within a mobile editing app. Okay. Moving on from photos, though, we also wanted to talk about sound and audio editing. One of the top-rated apps out there that's nice and free, very useful, is this thing called Audacity. It's not much to look at, but if you're taking audio notes for your class, or if you ever have some piece of audio that you want to touch up, Audacity is really useful. It is an open source project for anyone interested in contributing to open source coding out on the web. It does allow you to both record and then download your audio files. So you could post them later within Blackboard, something like that. You'll notice some of the basic features here: record, playback, pause, stop. You can scrub back and forth between things. And you can actually see the waveform here. So you can dive into it, pick out maybe some of the times that you've said too often, or click your tongue or whistle or something like that within the audio. It's nice, it's simple. Again, it's kind of old looking, but that's fine. You get what you pay for. It's free, and hey, it's very, very easy to use and pretty nice. Isabel says, Audacity requires a free plugin for converting files to audio. Good to know. Yes, and to be able to output to different audio sources, you may need different plugins within there. Oh, scrubbing just means walking back and forth along your audio here. Is that the plugin's name is that Lame or Lame? L-A-M-E? Feel free to jump on the microphone if you want. They offered it in a link. Good to know. Okay, we'll look that up and we can add that to the slides or add that to our follow-up email later on. Excellent. Yeah. So Audacity is simple, it's free. You can record your audio, do some very simple, light audio editing. It's not professional quality, but for most of us, if we're just recording a quick explanation of something to a student, or we're posting it in Blackboard, it's good enough. A lot of people have used it in the past for podcasting, if that's something you're interested in. Or one thing that it's very commonly used for in the academic realm, narration for presentations. So you might record, you might create your presentation, you might record your audio for the presentation later on, and then use a third-party piece of software to combine both of those together. And this one isn't available at a easily recognizable URL, but it is available at audacity.sourceforge.net. Ah, good to know. From Isabel, also don't just type Audacity into Google because that takes you to a different site. That's good to know too. Yeah, so follow this link right here in the slides, audacity.sourceforge.net, to be able to access the actual piece of software. SourceForge, if you're not familiar with that, is a site for hosting open source projects. That's why Audacity is there, because it's an open source project that anyone can contribute to. Okay. Otherwise, if you're on mobile and you're just looking for something to record, there are a ton of different free applications out on Android. Since most of us here are more familiar with iOS, though, we've previously recommended Audio Memos Free. It's simple, like the name says, it's free. It just records voice, and you can later output it as simple standard .wav or WAV files that you could then transfer into your computer, say upload into Audacity, and edit later on. Okay, moving on.
All right, so with sort of the transition or movement towards hosting content online, one of the easiest ways you can sort of get your instruction materials on the web is using a program called Jing. Jing is two-faceted. For one, it can do screenshots of whatever's on your desktop screen, and this can be whole screen, this can be portions of the screen, but it also does screen recording in the same manner. So it can either be a static image, or actually you can record for up to, I believe it's 5 minutes, anything that's going on your desktop screen. So you'd have PowerPoint open, or Microsoft Paint open, or whatever you might be using, and give sort of brief tutorials or instructions to students in a visual format, which is very useful. So it is a freemium application. The free version, you can have up to 5 minutes of the recording time, and it requires you to download or to upload your files to ScreenShare, which is the affiliate site with Jing. The premium features for it allow you increased recording time and different downloading options. I believe one of them is being able to download actually to your desktop as opposed to uploading it to a file system for the video component. With the static images, when you're cutting out shots, sort of like what we have here with the screenshot of the Audacity window, those actually can be saved to your desktop. You don't have to host those online, but the videos with the freemium, you do. We can kind of see here some of the tools, preview tools for Jing. You can add little arrows to point things out, text overlays, box overlays, so if you want to put something in a box to highlight it, an actual highlighter if you want to highlight text, and then being able to change the colors of the arrows, text, containers, or highlights. So Jing outputs its video in an SWF format, which again is hosted online through ScreenShare. It again captures image on your screen, can record up narration, which I forgot to mention. When you're actually giving the, recording your desktop, you can record your instructions in audio format. You don't need to, it doesn't have a caption feature, so you might, if you do decide to use this, create a transcript as a point for best practice whenever you're doing a recorded presentation, that being able to have that transcript ahead of time and then being able to pass it off to students afterward is very useful. Again, there's different sharing privacy options for your recorded videos, so you can share it with people with a link or make it a public video. It's very, very useful for demonstrating new software or for showing students the steps how to access something online, or doing a series of short presentations, using PowerPoint, etc. And it's very nice for students when they have troubleshooting help that they need as well. So you can check that out at techsmith.com. TechSmith is the parent company, and then Jing. Area says add transcript written. Yes. So if you're going to do, say, show some new software off, whatever you want to say, if you can develop a transcript beforehand and then sort of pass that off to students. It doesn't integrate with the program itself, but it's nice to have the video and the transcript available to the students.
Okay, so we've mentioned one desktop software for doing screencasts. If you are out and about, though, Lensoo may be a good option if you have an iPad or an Android tablet, and say a student emails you something, and it'd be easier to demonstrate than just type down a bunch of instructions. This is another tutorial screencasting application available to you. It's a freemium piece of software. By default, I believe you can save something like 5 of their screencasts to their cloud service, but you could pay for more storage. Other advanced features are available too. But you'll notice here, if anyone's familiar with the Khan Academy style of lectures, you basically get a canvas and you can add some pictures. You can add, say, musical staff as a picture as your background, and then you could annotate over it. A piece of music, whatever you want. Very simple. It's available for both Android devices and iOS devices, and they just added a web component. Now, Cameron was mentioning this to me the other day. Did they add the full suite of software to the web, or was this a viewer to the web, Cameron?
It actually seemed to be both, where you could present from an Android or iOS device through the web service or develop through the Lensoo cloud. I didn't get a chance to get into it too in depth, but that was sort of what I noticed when the last time I visited.
That's really good, and this company that makes Lensoo is constantly adding new features to it, which is really handy to see it just evolve pretty quickly over time. So as you've seen, you can record your handwritten tutorials. You narrate over the top, so it has video, it has audio. All you do is write or sketch over things, so it's very simple. And you don't have to use, as we just saw here, a completely white background. You'll notice that it looks like they might have added a slide to it, maybe a PDF document. There's features to add text if you just want to type some things out onto the screen and then annotate on top of that. But any photo or diagram or slides, maybe you have a photo of a living cell, and then you circle the different pieces of it and then talk about each piece. Anything like that you can do with this software. And then once you've recorded everything, you can upload that to their cloud hosting, and then provide your students with a link to it that you could post within Blackboard. You could email to them. It's good for any kind of really simple, small lecture or demonstration. Some things I had heard about before the athletics department. I was giving a workshop on different screencasting tools, and someone over at athletics said, could I add a picture of a football field? Yeah, sure, why not? So they were thinking about, maybe they'll start recording demonstrations of different plays for the football field. They can add scrimmage line on there and then show where each person is supposed to go for a particular play. Really cool. As I said, it's available for iPad or Android tablets. It's now available on the web too. I would assume it's at Lensoo.com. Do you happen to know, Cameron?
Yeah, yep, same website.
Good, okay. Or you can search for it on any of these app stores out there. Very simple, very easy to use. Good for really quick tutorials, especially where you might have to otherwise type out a lengthy list of steps for something, or provide some kind of lecture in a different format that it might be more cumbersome to do so. It's really simple. You just install the application, you can draw on it, lecture, record your voice. Nice and easy to use. There are a bunch of different options for screencasting out there. A couple of ones that are available via the web are Screener or Screencast-O-Matic. They're both useful for short tutorials. I think they have the same kind of limitations where you're limited to a certain length of time. Screener, you have to have a social media account. It assumes that you want to record a tutorial and put it on Facebook or Twitter. Screencast-O-Matic allows you to export it to a number of different video formats as well. If you have iPad apps, though, there are competitors to Lensoo that you might be interested in. There's both Shomi and EduCreations, and all three of these companies are constantly trying to one-up each other with features. It seems like every couple of months they're coming out with a new version of the software. So if it's something you're interested in, feel free to check those out. They're very good. We've used them all over time.
All right. So the next piece of software we're going to review is the PowerPoint alternative, Prezi. The main difference, or the main reason why I sort of promote Prezi to instructors, is that it provides a more organic feeling, holistic view of a presentation that's not limited to just sort of more static slides. So it adds an element of interest, which can capture students' attention and display concepts, you know, in a different format that you wouldn't be able to capture with PowerPoint presentations. One of the examples that I give when I do my workshop with Prezi is being able to zoom in and look at something at the macro level, so say a human being, a human face, and then zooming in with Prezi to like a cell, and that motion of moving towards the face until you actually get to the cellular level sort of demonstrates the concept in a way that you can't simulate as much with a static PowerPoint presentation. So Prezi is a freemium app. The good news for us as educators is that we can actually get an educator version of the application for free, just because you have a .edu email address. So I forget what the limitations on it, but you can you can do quite a few host quite a few presentations using the service. It does have an iPad application that allows you to view Prezi presentations. Otherwise, it's a completely web-based program. With the iPad, there are some limited editing features they've added as well, so that anyone who's on the developing on the fly needs to make minor edits, that is available. But otherwise, I would definitely recommend using the web-based interface if you're going to be developing in here. But the downloadable feature for Prezi, especially for the, and this is not for the EDU accounts, this will be for the premium version, you can actually download the application as a desktop application. For anyone who's not using the premium account, you can download the application, or the presentation as sort of a standalone, so that you can present offline and save it as a file. So the main highlights of Prezi are that it's an animated experience. It creates nonlinear presentations. You can jump back and forth between slides with students who, or maybe if you're hosting this online, can follow along but can navigate your presentation independent of what you're displaying, which I know now that I'm saying these things, it seems a little bit abstract, so I definitely would if you're interested in sort of a PowerPoint alternative, to check out Prezi.com and do one of their tutorials, their introductions to the service, to get a real feel for what it's all about. One of the praises that I'll sing for it as well is that in the last 2 years they've actually updated their editing interface. It used to be very clunky, using a monolithic sort of editing button that was in control of all of the editing features. They've since made it much more intuitive and easy for people who are especially newcomers to the program to be able to use. Again, so web-based, you can download for viewing offline. You can present in view with the iPad, iPhone app. You can also, as an advanced feature, if you're familiar with how to embed something within Blackboard or through a website, you can also generate an embed code for your presentations as well. One of the things that I forgot to mention before as well is that you can actually collaboratively develop these presentations, so that if you in a group of, I wouldn't recommend going more than 3 to 5 individuals want to work on a Prezi presentation at the same time. Again, like the Google Docs, the synchronous sort of editing, it supports that feature as well. And it is just a great, interesting alternative to PowerPoint, so check it out.
If you are using PowerPoint though, one thing that is really handy, I've found useful for a number of workshops that I've given on mobile apps, is Slideshark. Slideshark is a way to present your PowerPoint slides from a mobile device. It is a freemium app. By default, I believe you can store up to 25 megabytes worth of presentations in their cloud. What you do is you create your PowerPoint, you upload it to their service, they kind of churn through the slides, figure out all the different animations and transitions and audio and whatnot that you've added to them, and then host that new version of it there. You can then pull it down into the app and then present on the go. And it's a nice way of being able to present without being right there at a lectern, for instance. You can swipe back and forth between the slides. You could even set it up in an automatic mode to play a presentation automatically, loop it over and over if you want. So it's one thing that I found kind of fun just to use itself. It is available across Android and iOS platforms. There is the website for creating and queuing up presentations there. By default, it takes PowerPoint presentations. One of the nice features with this particular piece of PowerPoint presentation software for mobile, however, is that unlike a lot of other apps, this one does preserve a lot of custom stuff. It's not just a screenshot of each slide. It's not just a photo of each slide. It'll keep your animations, your custom fonts, graphics, things like that. There is some very limited presentation editing available for it. And it is cloud-based, so you can add PowerPoints on the web. You can store them there if you want. Again, it only maybe store 5 to 10 depending on how large your presentations are. But it'll also track them there. You can see how many people are viewing it. Pretty nice and simple. Since a lot of the smart classrooms on campus have Apple TVs, this is an alternative for you for advancing slides because you can connect your iPad over the air to the Apple TV and swipe back and forth between your slides instead of having to get a clicker. And if I can go back one, you will be able to go into a presentation mode so you can see, now this is just the overview of all the different presentations, but it would show you a view of the slide, the next 2 slides, your notes that you added to your PowerPoint slides, and it would display the whole slide up on the projector, which is really handy. And that's available at slideshark.com, or you can download the app through the app stores. There are a few other options. Since we already touched on these, just wanted to mention them again. For presentations, there are presentation modes for things like the Google Docs, PowerPoint alternative, and Evernote just came out with a new presentation mode a few months back as well.
All right, I know we're getting close to our end point here, so I'll try to make it through these quickly. If you have to leave for whatever reason, feel free to do so. We will send the slides through you and then our follow-up. Otherwise, I'll try to get through these. Feel free to stick around. The next piece of software we have here is Trello. Trello is another one of my favorite pieces of software for project management. It's something that we use here at Faculty Development to manage our different projects and committees that we have internally, and I actually use it myself for other committees that I'm involved in outside of work, or even for personal use, personal projects that I have going on. So Trello, again, is a freemium app. It offers quite a bit. The free version offers quite a bit just as is. The freemium, in this case, interestingly enough, does not add that much more in terms of features and functionality. With the paid version, you can customize your backgrounds and have more upload. You can upload larger file sizes. But other than that, it doesn't offer too much more. So the free application is quite powerful as is. There are applications for Android and iOS that work very well on a mobile device, but otherwise it's a primarily web-based application. There are no downloads for, except for Windows 8. I forgot to mention that. There are no downloads for Windows 7 or Mac. But you can see here sort of just this is a generic Trello interface. It uses a card-based system, so each individual white rectangle there is a card that can be moved from list to list, and you can see at the top of the gray sort of background, the next up, the in progress, those are lists that you can have in there. And then each card actually hosts a number of different information features, from a description. You can add checklists, comments, you can add quite a few. Oh, Isabel lost audio. Okay, I'm sorry. So again, Trello is a great project management tool for free. It has that tactile interface with the card base where you actually click and drag each one of the to-do list cards from one list to another, so you see where you're at in your workflow. It's great for group projects. You can assign individual cards to individuals. You know, it could be one person, it could be 5 people, it could be the whole group, and then it will actually generate notifications for them that, you know, hey, this card is due at this date. So you can vote on individual cards as an activated feature. When you add the due dates to each card, you can actually activate a calendar, so you can see the overall, you know, the due dates for each one of the cards within that list. It supports file uploads, so you can attach a PowerPoint or Word document that is relevant to the task described by the card. Commenting again for, you know, group members to sort of give feedback on where they are in the process, things that they're working on, etc. And then just kind of a basic breakdown for the organization, or the hierarchy in Trello is you can have several different organizations. Like I said, you know, we have one for faculty development, that's my organization within there. Individual boards, which is sort of the blue background where you actually have the lists and the cards. And then within those boards, you have those lists of cards which you're using to list and provide resources for members in there. And you can check that out at Trello.com, or check out the app stores to download. It does require an account for individuals. But another one of the nice things too, and I forgot to put this in here, is that you can create public boards as well, and sort of have that out there. So if you have external entities that need to see where you're at in a project, you have that capability. So I'm going to keep going here. Telegram is a messaging service. It is an open source project. It has app downloads for Mac, PC, and Linux. It has mobile applications for Android and iOS, and it has a web interface. So all of these different clients downloads all sync with one server. Everything is encrypted with Telegram. You can set up secure private chats, which are person to person. They don't go through the central server. And this is, again, an open source project, so that it can be audited for its security. I think that this is a nice application to sort of recommend to students to collaborate, because it is a secure messaging system. You can create groups within Telegram, so you can message individual groups. You can send broadcast messages to 100 to 200 people, where it's just you're sending information out to them, but they're not contacting you directly. You can hide your contact information with this. You don't have to give out your personal information to students. you can you develop a just a username that you share with them. They find you in Telegram, and then they can message you back and forth. If that becomes a problem, you can block them, which is a nice feature. But you can send files, you can send images, and voice messages to them, and it's rather snappy. It does this more or less instantaneously. So it's been a very robust piece of software that I've been using lately, and I've been really impressed with. Again, use cases for this being able to broadcast communications to students, creating small student groups to sort of collaborate with each other in a way that students are normally communicating. So I recommend this to you and your students. Go and check it out. You can download or use it online at telegram.org. All right, again, I'm going to keep going here. The last one that I'm going to touch on is a web conferencing software called Rabb.it. That's Rabb.it. This is sort of a Blackboard Collaborate / Skype or other sort of web conferencing software alternative. What's unique about Rabb.it is that the participants, not only can they see each other, talk, share video, they can actually visit different places online through a shared web browser. So this is great for students coming together to work in groups to watch videos or lectures. But because it is a browser, they can actually go to anywhere they want on the internet and have that sort of shared learning space. It's a very quick service. I've been very, it has a chat feature. You can see right here. Opens up a text box for them to start text messages and whatnot. But it's a nice, quick and dirty sort of way for students to do web conferencing, or for you to web conference with students and share these sort of resources together. So again, video, audio, and chat. You can share web content through the shared browser. You can have up to 15 people on video. Great for online brainstorming and group collaboration. And you can feel free to check it out at rabb.it.
Okay, and the last one I wanted to talk about today was Poll Everywhere. This is a really handy application if you're trying to get your students to be a little bit more engaged in class, or if you're trying to figure out how much they're understanding while you're lecturing. It's super simple to set up, and it's available from pretty much every platform on the web, and your students can even just text in answers if they want, which is really nice for classes. Everyone has their phone on them. If nothing else, they can text the answer in. It is available for up to only 40 people, so this won't be available for large lecture halls unless you're willing to pay for the larger product. There are two different ways to pay. Either you or your department could, or you could make your students pay. Just figure that that's part of the technology fee. It's particularly useful for quick classroom assessment. It can be completely anonymous, especially for questions like, are you understanding what I'm saying right now? Am I doing a good enough job explaining it, or do I need to go back and cover that material better? And that's available at polleverywhere.com.
All right. So just going to wrap this up here. If you want, you can tell us your favorites in the chat box. We do try to see what staff and faculty and staff are interested in, so we can offer workshops on these sort of things throughout the year. So be sure to check NIU or Faculty Development's workshop offerings. Danny likes Prezi. I enjoy Prezi quite a bit myself. Like I said, it's a great service. Karen likes Dropbox and Google Drive, also great services. Creates that synchronous functionality across devices, not emailing back and forth. Don't know yet, Isabel? Okay. There's definitely quite a few that we covered today that you can check out. Can really, if not for your students or your classroom, but even personal use. It can increase your productivity and provide you with a lot of great tools for collaboration. Body likes Google Docs, but getting better with Office 365. Yeah, Bonnie. Well, one of the things I will say definitely about Evernote is that it does not start off as a useful application. It really is the use over time and the habit of archiving information that really what I found for usefulness in there. There's many of the notes that I have. Like I said, I have about 1,800 of them. I've not read because they're articles, but it's a nice way to sort of using the search feature to query information that I've encountered in the past, so I can locate it very, very quickly and easily. Karen's saying she got to try some out. Yeah, definitely. I'm excited for all of you to be sort of exposed to these technologies. Peter and I really enjoy them. I think that they're really solid for being free software services out there. So thank you for providing feedback. This is a very busy chat today. We love to see that. Love to see that participation. So before we take off, do we have any questions that you have for us? You can include in the follow-up email or try to get back to you. Ari, do you want to speak, or do you want to do a text chat? If you want to speak, just hit that talk button up there underneath my photo. Intrigued by the notation software. Are you talking Evernote or the Lensoo? Probably the Lensoo. Yeah, because you're showing this on the Lensoo server, the service, so that anything you develop on your desktop, you can actually access through your mobile device as well, and again make those edits. So with most of these services that are not individual downloads, but even in the case of some that are, because they're primarily hosted on a server, the different applications, whether they be for the desktop or a mobile device, they'll access them and they'll be the same. Evernote, yeah, so Evernote has the same thing with the central server. So if you have a PowerPoint application in there that you have, or a PDF that you have annotated, that syncs across the devices, so that any edits that you make on my mobile device show up on the web, show up on the desktop application.
I'll often start a note for a meeting, and then later on maybe add some more thoughts to it later on a different device, and then it's synced across everything. Very, very handy.
All right. Well, thank you all again for joining us today. We're really glad to have all of you. Really glad that you seem to be exposing you to some of the new things that are out there. That's what we're all about. If you have any specific questions, you want to contact me or Peter. I'm cwills@niu.edu. Peter is pgoen@niu.edu. If you use Twitter, feel free to follow us. I'm at MetaWills. Peter's at PeterGoen. Hope to see you guys next time, and have a great weekend. It's a beautiful day out, so get out and enjoy it.
Indeed. Take care. I look forward to meeting with some of you all later on. Have a great day.